when y'all
That's
cut
a
your
long
shoes
walk.
off?
What did y'all
But
do?
now to tell you how the school looked, I couldn't tell you.
Maybe, but I know we
No,
went
but
there to
when?
school.
What
I
y'all
know
do?
I
What
had
y'all
to
do
go.
with your shoes?
I don't know.
What y'all?
You could not go barefooted till the 9th of May or sometime. It was just before school would be
Yeah,
out.
right, 1st of May.
Had to wait till sometime.
Well,
You
they
could not
got
go
socks
barefooted.
on.
Oh, and other people
Undershirt.
was letting their children go barefooted, and some of them was going. So, Mama wouldn't let us, you know. But
She
so
had
we
a
thought,
certain date.
yeah, so we decided we'd cut our shoes and we wouldn't have to wear them, you know. We could go barefooted. And we cut them, but you know what? Mama fixed us up with that. Now, JT might not remember, but Mama bought some long shoestrings and put them in there and made us around there. We had to wear them. We probably didn't wear them till we got outside the house.
Well, I don't remember,
But now I remember that because Mama had mentioned it to us several times, but now there's a lot that now when he starts telling it,
It
comes
comes back
to
to you. Where did y'all move?
That house that we moved to from there.
over there, up at Little Rock, where they had that tobacco store. Don't you remember?
When they had two of the people in had some cotton there in the front of the house.
Yeah.
Had a little patch. And I never seen such high cotton in all
He'd
my
be
life.
plowing and you couldn't see the
You-
mule.
Yeah, that's right. You couldn't even see the mule.
It-
That's how high the cotton was.
It-
It
that'd
was-
be easy.
You
That'd
just
be
like
easy to
trees,
pick,
like a
wouldn't
cotton
it?
tree. It didn't look
Oh,
like
my
cotton.
goodness.
Why it'd be easy? You'd have to
That's
bend
how
over.
rich that land was down there. It was real rich. And I don't know how long we lived there, but we moved to McCall.
Yeah.
From there we moved to McCall.
Was anybody born at McCall?
You know what? I was
Stay there,
I was
Call
born up where we had them two cherryberry trees in the yard and it flooded one time. Daddy had wood, he sowed
Yeah.
wood. Is that McCall?
McCall,
Well,
we lived
gotta
in
change that
McCall.
on that picture.
We lived in
I told
McCall.
you first McCall, but I was thinking it was Dillon.
It was McCall.
That picture really.
We lived in this house and it was kind of a little low place there. But Daddy, he had always done something kind of work. He would, to help support it. If he could find a job in a mill, cotton mill, well, he'd get a job in a mill. Usually sweeping or running. Daddy run slices.
Yeah.
And he got where he could run slices.
He did that once.
And so he done that. But down there at McCall, as the first Church of God that I ever saw with a bell in it.
Really?
They had.
And a church bell.
And
Was there a
Mama,
railroad track close to
and
there?
it all was almost on it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was
Now, Mama wrote a song about the church bell. I hear the church bells ringing. I hear the church bells ringing. I hear the church bells ringing. It's time for us to go to Sunday school. We're going to Sunday school. We're going to Sunday school. We're going. Goodbye, playthings. Goodbye.
That's the first time I thought that long.
We sung it at Fountain Inn too.
Yeah, we
I
used
just
to
didn't
sing
know
it Fountain
how
Inn.
she was inspired.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was inspired right there on account of that church
Church
had a bell in
And
it.
see, she would
And that
make
was the only
songs
church
for
that I
children
ever,
at church.
I don't know, is any other church y'all know it had a church bell in it?
Ours has got one, they don't ring it. Honey Pies,
The
but
one
they
at
don't ring
Williamston
it.
was.
Williamston's
They
got a
got
church
one in it.
bell.
Now.
Yeah, but that,
You
all
talking
them
about back
come along there.
Yeah.
After them.
That was,
Well, now that Williamston church is an old church.
Yeah.
That's an old church in
But
Williamston.
we don't know when it was put on.
Well, it,
But I
they
think
bought that building with
I
a
think
church
that it
bell.
was that somebody else worshipped there.
Yeah.
And the Church of
I
God called him
believe
in
it- I
there.
think it was a Methodist
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
They bought it.
now,
Okay, now
when
then.
did we ever come back up?
But,
Now, I
now,
never have
they-
been able in
from-
my mind, maybe.
Now we left McCall, Daddy, let's see, tell you what he done. He bought slabs. Go out to the sawmill out from McCall, and he bought a slab pile. He'd go out there and told him he'd give him so much for the slab pile. And we had that truck, and he'd haul slabs up there, and he had a cutoff saw. I don't know where you know what a cutoff saw is. But it's got a saw on it about that big, and it comes out, and it's got a pulley on this other end.
Take the back wheel off of his truck.
No, he just he didn't take the wheel off. He just took the
I know he used
belt
it.
and run it on the tire.
Did he?
Yeah.
I've seen a
I
lot
know
of them where
he
you
used
run
the
it off
wheel,
and
but
take
he
the
used
wheel.
it on
Run
the
it on
rim.
the tire.
Hey, he used it, I know he
And
used the
used
wheel
it.
of the truck.
And he sawed it off. We sawed it up in Stonewood length. And we took a hatch, took the axe instead of the hatchet. Took the axe and cut it off with this short handle and had a chopping block. And you could just drop that axe down on there and split that stuff.
I used
And he sold.
Zeno said he used to do that.
And
He's preacher's son too.
he sold
We
them
just,
people around there so much of the load that he'd carry them and he'd deliver it. And when it wound up,
We was in a
the mill-
flood there, JT.
we was doing pretty good till they shut the mill down.
Oh, Lord.
And people didn't have no money to pay for the wood.
That was
First
it.
thing you know, and it just put us out of business. That's
That's
when
like, that's like the
when we
Waltons used
turned,
to
come back to the
Had salt.
upstate. And we stayed down in there 3 years.
But I've tried to think. You don't know where we come to when we come back from down there. Did we come back to Anderson somewhere? Or to Seneca?
We went to Seneca. Seneca,
I
we
was
was at
thinking
Seneca.
we lived over
it.
Daddy-
Dillon's one of the
Daddy-
biggest churches in the
Daddy
state.
got a
Dillon's
job in
now one of the biggest
Slicer
churches in
Room
the
up
state.
there.
where Dillon and McCall.
Dillon itself is one of the biggest churches in the state.
State now.
Yeah, it is. It wasn't when
Uh,
we was there.
In fact, I don't,
But
I've
if
never
they
seen it.
had to
I've
have
never
a
been back
beginning.
to Dillon.
Just like Sunday.
But what I'm fixing to
Claire
tell you
Somebody-
now,
Pastor
listen,
Claire
he's
Farley,
you wanna know how we got back?
Yep.
South
Did we
Grove.
come back on that
We
truck?
come back on that same
Truck.
T-model truck.
On that same truck.
Back on that same truck.
Come back on that same T-model truck, but we had about, one or two more
Yeah.
dead on it.
Didn't leave none of them down there, did you?
Daddy could pack the most
He could.
furniture on
Hey,
a T-model truck.
you
than
had to
anybody
pack
in this
furniture.
country.
He moves
And-
what you
Well,
had down
listen.
there.
What-
Listen, wasn't we on the bus when Grace, died?
We,
whatever?
yeah,
That was when we
I
was
believe
coming
we-
back up here, wasn't
Well,
it?
then Big Daddy bought a bus while y'all was down there, didn't
we
he?
had a bus body,
Because
put on them
They have a
roads.
bus body put on the
Jack
truck.
up the front end and run the
But the
truck up under it.
Oh, so that's how you
ride
got
out
it.
and pick up every hitchhiker on the road.
So it have a,
Time we
so
got-
it have a church.
Yeah.
So he could preach to him and sing to him.
But, you think it's funny, but sure enough, he bought a body, wasn't in it, nothing, a school bus body. And he jacked it up,
Yeah, we know how it
propped
happened.
it up to where he could just
Back,
back up in under there and let it down.
You put a camper on
Let it down and bolt it back around the frame.
Well, we didn't get, it didn't come off.
No, it wouldn't come off.
There's no people sitting in it.
hold it down.
But while we was down there, I went to Myrtle Beach.
Oh, you got to see
We
it.
did get,
19 and
we got to
27.
see.
Hey, I got a picture of that.
We got to see.
It's a little picture, but part of it's talk, but you can see Mama, she's
Well,
on
hey.
somebody, and there's
JT,
Carl, and I
they
guess
was
it's just,
married the
they're
other
standing
day.
on the beach
man,
back
we-
then.
We
Yeah,
just
I'm gonna have to look
went
at my
Went
picture,
down
I'll
there
find
and
it, but I got
had
one.
well,
So,
well, that's when we went to Myrtle Beach. while
yeah,
we
I
was there.
know.
Mama was running a revival. I believe it was a tent.
It
Marin,
and it wasn't too far.
and it didn't go off too well. That's where I learned to hate mayonnaise.
He still don't like mayonnaise. What happened,
And
JT?
well,
Made it Yes, really.
smear that
I
stuff
love
on loaf bread,
I love it.
and I eat so much of it till it made me sick, and I ain't want it no more.
That's all kind of sandwiches Joanna was ready
You got
to
enough to do your life.
I prefer all if
But
you
while we
live.
was there, some way or another, they got enough money to buy enough gas to go from there to Myrtle Beach, and we was in that truck.
Well, I wonder, what
Did you
I
wear
wonder what Mommy
bathing
was doing on
suits?
the beach, because it was picture Mom, she's holding somebody.
She let
And
us
I
go
could
so we
I
could
could
see
recognize
the
it was
ocean.
Carl Winslow.
She
but I-
wanted
I
us
haven't-
to see the ocean.
But
The part of that picture's tore up, but I
we
think
went
it's-
down
it's
there,
all
and the
pictures still
only thing in Myrtle Beach at that
on. I
time
wonder who made that picture.
was a big old wooden hotel. It was owned by Woodside, the Woodside Mills, the Woodside that owned the Woodside Mill. They owned that big old hotel. It still had that, they had that walkout.
Yeah,
walkout.
people, I think you see that on the picture, see like
And
you
we
can.
went out on that.
Yep, that-
But what I was fixing to tell you, going down there, we sitting on the back with our feet hanging off the back, like a riding in a wagon. And it got down to that swamp, and I thought the bridge was gonna fall in. The boards was loose. It was
It's right, yeah, I did.
flop. And then and it was about 2 miles. They said it was right about 2 miles going through that swamp. But we got down there, and they wasn't nothing. I think it was maybe a
We just
A
got to
couple.
see the ocean, didn't we?
Yeah.
couple of, maybe 2 or 3 filling stations. I don't remember exactly what all that, but I do remember the old Woodside Hotel. And we went down there and waited around on
Yeah, y'all, I
the
think, seemed like some good, y'all had your bridge they rolled up.
yeah, we rolled up bridge they go, we didn't get out too far.
Well, I reckon who made that picture, but it's a part of it's tore off, but it's still got people
Mama
on it.
Well, now,
Mama
you
always told
might-
said
you
she
might-
knew the ocean was down there
you
while
might,
we was there.
You
She
might
wanted us to see the ocean.
had some pictures when we first went down there in about 40.
Now, I got the
42.
Bush Green Garden, I've got, we went for his
You got
big
that?
Bush Green, all of the
Yeah, she's
JD.
got that.
I've got that, and I put one of them in.
That was the second time.
Cause that's when I
Yes,
was,
they
that's
come
when I was
this-
about 3
this was
years
back
old.
Y'all went back down
It
there.
seemed like,
Edward was,
That's a
Well,
altogether
this is
different
getting there,
place
they get-
than
'cause
when
Mama,
we
she
went
was holding
down there.
a baby, so I
we
guess
come
it's
back up
Grace.
in there
Yeah.
on the beach where there wasn't nobody around.
But Edward was a baby.
Waited,
wasn't
yeah.
Edward a baby? One time we
but
went
now
into
then,
Pollard's Island.
I get back up, coming back up to the other state.
We called it Pollard's Island.
We started off with all of us, the young'uns on top of it. And then we got down to the big city of Chester. Sits up on a hill. And we started up that hill and got up near the top, almost to the top. And the thing choked down.
Lord, it choked that
it's,
thing on it?
it's funny now.
I know,
but
what
it
then?
wasn't funny then.
We were so scared.
I really, the Lord had to put some extra strength in Daddy's legs to hold that thing. Cause you couldn't crank it, cause you had the foot on them pedals, and then that helped the motor, keep the motor from turning. You put it in gear, so you couldn't crank it.
Oh, my goodness.
And there we was up on top of it. And him sitting there with all of his might, holding that thing to keep, with all that weight of all that furniture,
And all them young'uns.
the young'uns, and if that thing had
Everything
broke loose and we went down through that, been young'uns scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
Furniture
God,
too.
that's another time God took care of us.
But Daddy sent Carl out somewhere or another, told him to go see if he could get somebody to help pull us on up to the top of the hill to get us over. And he had to go hunt somebody. And Daddy was sitting there, and he didn't, Carl didn't know nothing about Chester,
Chester,
he didn't know.
who'd you find?
But
Well,
there
you-
was a fella
you-
come
you
back
didn't
up
have to be
there
as
with
scared
Carl.
the way you are now.
I don't know how,
The Lord sent
Lord,
somebody.
somebody.
I don't know how this thing done it, but it was a Buick automobile. one seat. And Buick was the heaviest car that was built back in there.
Yeah.
It was kinda heavy. And that guy, he put a chain to the front of that T-model truck and us.
Maybe they made us get
And
out.
he started off and that back end was spinning and smoke was flying. And he finally barely, he did pull us over.
I bet ruined his car.
And you talking about thankful.
Yeah,
Glad.
I bet Mom was praising the Lord.
She probably did.
She's sitting there praying the whole time, I guess, anyway.
But now, that happened on
That would be a scary thing.
Yeah,
to
Chester
know.
is a, Chester is on
that's
hill.
a steep
That's a
little
steep
hill.
hill, it is.
Well,
Steep little hill.
all through.
Did
all
y'all
of
live
that.
in Chester?
No.
We didn't live in Chester.
No, we
that
just
was
come-
on the way
Come
back.
You had to
What?
come back through Chester to
Oh.
come back up the upstate.
When was that?
What year?
What year?
29.
29, oh.
That's the year I was born. In
Well, you was
December.
born
So
in,
they were on their way.
Mom was probably
We were on
pregnant,
the way
coming back
up
home,
to Seneca.
come back
We
Seneca.
lived in Seneca.
That's where.
Mama didn't pastor anywhere. She just run and preached around.
Well,
She
40.
just
She
run
preached
around.
around and
Louise
I
was
was-
started pregnant with you. But then y'all moved to Anderson?
we
Where was you born?
yeah,
we
moved,
moved back Seneca.
moved up. I tell you, before we moved to Anderson, we moved
Moved
over,
up at Melton.
over at Scratch Ankle.
Oh, that's a new name. That's a new name. What, Scratch Ankle.
That's a little place up above Anderson, out there in the country.
Up close to Slaptown?
Yeah, next to Slaptown.
Yeah, they probably did call it
But
that.
now, we
lived two places.
I'm gonna tell you about something that you won't believe it, but we moved in a hen house.
Yeah, I've heard that.
This ain't no joke.
I know it.
It ain't no joke, 'cause I live there.
And
And did you know one thing?
I was there too.
You know how we got in there to that house? Had to cut down the trees.
Yeah,
Trees that big around.
yeah. We had.
Cut it
was in
down.
in the edge of a pasture.
And
How did Daddy
Well, it
do
didn't
that?
cost,
It
they,
didn't cost-
somebody let us
somebody
let
let-
them, let.
We
Wait,
had to clean it up.
was it an old house that people had
It
put
was old
in?
house and they just let their chickens.
Just let it-
Instead,
let it,
we had to clean it
grow
up.
up.
It wasn't a chicken.
It wasn't a
It
chicken
wasn't-
coop, it was a house
no.
of
It
chickens.
was a house
Yeah.
that chickens
Poor
stayed
chicken.
in.
She could find a place to roost.
That's back in between Pendleton and where it easily back in there,
Yeah.
Slaptown.
Yeah.
Slept out. When you
Go to
go into
Pendleton, it like,
Easley,
it ain't like you go into Easley.
I don't know
Pendleton.
whether I could find that. Brother Dixon and them lived in that
Yeah.
community too.
Yeah.
But that's where Ed Louise was
Yeah, I was
born.
born.
Yeah.
That's
But-
We
where
called it
Ed Louise was
Melton.
born.
But
That's what I was
we got,
Not in
cleaned
that
up.
house.
We got
We
it
moved
cleaned
to another house.
No, then we moved down
You weren't
to.
born in a chicken
place.
house?
No, I was born in a
You'd be surprised, we was the one moved uptown.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
moved up
yeah.
there.
Just right across from the mall.
Yes, sir.
Up there.
There wasn't no mall then.
No, they was, you know where WANS radio station was, and it was in a pasture.
That's
what I
said, showed me a spot.
We lived
Well,
in,
we lived across,
it's about where
Well,
Hamrick's and them's is at now.
it's
That's
down
about where the house
below
was.
that a little piece.
Yeah, it might be a little bit down. But,
We moved in a bungalow.
yeah, it
you know,
was a nice house.
and-
Yep. We thought we
And we had
And
the
the
Hamricks
reason
for
us-
neighbors.
The reason we got that house, Carl worked for, Eskews Farm. They raised sheep, and then
That's
he helped
right,
them with the cows and things, and they give us rent. And there's where I read me say we moved uptown.
I
And
was
we had
about
we
12
had
years
a
old.
pretty good little walk to go to school from there.
Walked up
We
there to
walked from there.
that little schoolhouse is still there,
Yeah,
right
that's
across from Bojangles.
Yeah. That's across the
Man,
That's a
it
long
wasn't no-
way.
We
Bojangles
walked.
wasn't there.
Yes, sir. We didn't go to school on the easy street, and they didn't come by and pick us up on
Hey,
the bus.
now the Hammocks that owned Chicola Manufacturing Company that was over there, then they lived right up above us. Now, they didn't know us, but I mean, it wasn't far from there. And the Maxwells was, furniture people. Well, there's a bank there now, where we used to walk by, and them kids walked with us to school too.
we moved from there, but I tell you something, we had a big snow. After the trees had done put out leaves, about that big, almost half grown.
My goodness.
We had a snow, you talking about a snow, it snowed, it was probably in April, probably the 1st of April. And we decided we wanted to keep some of that snow. And after it all was gone everywhere else, well, we'd make us some snow cream. And we got out there and
Didn't have a
started off
freezer?
and we rolled the clean snow, you know, and it was just as soft and pretty as you ever seen. And we got a big snowball of that good clean snow, and then we started just to roll it. And we rolled it till it got to be about the size of a bale of hay, cotton, about the size of a bale of cotton. And sure enough, after all of it's gone everywhere else, and
Y'all said y'all could dig in
pretty
there.
one we dug in and busted into there and had snow cream. I tell you, you have to use your head
Hey,
and stuff outside the head
Hey,
right.
Jackie, was that where you built those little roads and all, had them,
Yeah, had
them
all-
roads all down through there? I remember that.
I was 12,
Well,
I was
we
about
left there.
12, 13 then,
We left there and moved down to Catlett Street.
yeah, that's down.
That's down there,
That's
on
in the
this,
black
this end of
community
town,
now.
on this end of Anderson.
Did that house have a porch, kind of a long,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, that's when I started remembering about them.
It
We was up there at that,
Yeah, it did.
where
Then
we lived in
we
bungalow.
left there.
Carl delivered papers then, he worked
I
at
guess
the
we
Independent.
better slow off, I guess. We left from there and went to Belton.
Yeah.
We probably lived in a few other places,
I was
even,
born
we
in
lived in
Belton.
Pendleton one time when I was
Even May
6
was
years
born
old.
Louise was born in Belton.
You would have been
Yeah.
4.
That's where they're
That's
closest
where
to
the
Slap
South
Town.
there.
Well, we was talking about Slap
Now we're
Town.
getting up to even May. Gonna soon get to me.
I was born in Belton.
Yeah,
On what street? McGee's?
McGee Street.
McGee Street.
about, down on this end, about 3 houses
From the end.
from the end.
Do you remember when she was born?
Yeah, I remember when she was born.
We always
I
do
tell
something.
you what I remember, you want me to tell you what was really rough about that?
Yeah.
That was that tornado, when that tornado hit.
That's
Where
when
we
we
So
couldn't
what was
figure
it?
out, we couldn't figure out whether it was when
We
I was
lived
little.
in that house on
McGee Street.
McGee Street,
Yeah,
and on, the upper end, not next to the
Where it
mill is
come.
where it hit.
It really hit in there.
And,
yeah.
we was out in the yard playing, a bunch of us. And, Sister Chapman, I don't know her first name, but Sister Chapman, them lived across the street in front of us. And we was out there and she come running around the house hollering, "There's a tornado coming, a tornado coming." And, Mama said,
and that loony
Sure.
woman up above her come down there too, the one that carried a hot water bottle on
and
her.
so she, Mama walked over and looked between the houses. She said, yeah, and she called all of us, and we started in the porch and tried to open the door, and when we got to there, we couldn't hardly open the door.
Wind was
Pressure
so
done
strong.
got-
Yeah, it's like a vacuum anyway.
And she told us to stay on this side of the house. Said if it blows down, it'll blow it off of us, won't be much on it.
Almost smart too.
And, so, we stayed there, and I couldn't stand still. Mama, I'd go to the window and look out, and she'd pull me away from the window, stay away from the window, pigs might fly through the window. But I on the upper side, I'd stand and look out the window, and you could see bed springs,
Oh, everything.
furniture and stuff, just
I was
boiling,
in there.
just a boiling, just
You can
boiling
like,
up.
you can sit back like that, I can
And,
get you, if you wanna lean back.
And there was a porch tumbling kinda off,
And
Yeah,
and
off of
it
this
fell
end.
in the house behind us, didn't it?
yeah, and
It missed us.
it just kept tumbling off, kept
They
watching.
done got out of my street.
And they way through, it just went through the top. And,
I was
that
in the
was-
mill. I was
And-
14
and it rained.
when that happened.
it
I
rained,
was in the mill.
it rained so hard, you couldn't see the house across the street before it happened. It had been right, I don't know what, mucky or something.
Yeah.
All day
Real
long,
still.
the clouds was hanging low, and, but it rained when that tornado got by. It rained, as I say, it rained so hard that you couldn't see the house across the street, and then the sun come out just like it is now.
Yeah, as soon as it was over, it come out, I remember that.
But you know, I was so foolish. I show you, just being a kid, that tornado, I was in the mill. I thought I was grown, you know, I was 14.
You
And I was
don't get
in
old
there
enough to
working.
work, so you're grown.
And all at once, well, all the windows began to fly, you know, the mill shut down. And instead of me going home, you know, Mama never was worried about me. Instead of me going home, I went with them bunch that went out of the mill all over the place looking to see what had happened. Oh, Mama and them didn't know where I was at.
I left there and went up the street. Well, I seen them two-story houses up there where right at the middle of the street. It looked like that snout would just reach around them two-story houses, pick them up this
And then
like
just
it,
throw 'em down.
just turn them loose and let them fall and squash.
That's strange how that can
It
do
is
that.
how it can destroy.
But I went out and I went on across, went down that street where it, you know, come up through there.
Yeah.
And I went from on over to
Blair
the
Mill.
Blair Mill. I went over there and come
Yeah,
back.
that's where it went. It just come through that
Yeah.
little.
Well,
Over
is that-
Blair Mills where that
that where
the
y'all
straw
play-
went through a telephone pole,
Hey.
wasn't it?
Let Ida tell us where all of you lived, Ida.
Where did y'all play marbles?
Hey, I tell you what, see, when it gets to Ida, he can talk about Ida. See, that's
Okay.
how they met. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
But,
I'll-
playing marbles.
Hey, where did,
over
yeah,
there.
it was at
Swap
Belgium.
places
with
Yeah.
Belgium.
Yeah.
I
He ain't got to Belton yet.
Yeah, he's about there, had a tornado.
Oh, yeah, Belton, okay.
Yeah.
I'm behind.
And I kept my knees in my overalls with a hole in it.
You couldn't play for
What?
keeps
Then
though,
when
could
it
you,
got-
JT?
Huh?
Mama wouldn't let you play for
No,
keeps,
wouldn't
would
let
you?
you
Had to
play
play for fun.
Then after they got holes in up here, and it go warm weather, we would just cut them off.
Well, I was one protecting my knees because we couldn't wear pants because I was the one that's playing marbles for keeps. See,
Even May, you didn't hear what even May said.
What?
You mean they let them buy
Wear
my
Bermuda
booty
shorts.
shorts? I wore short pants. I didn't know what long pants was for a long time. I wore short pants.
As kids.
Yeah. And back then, that was the style.
Yeah.
You didn't wear long pants.
You was in style.
You gotta,
You had to be grown,
yeah,
really grown.
you had to be grown to wear long pants.
But Mama had told JT they couldn't play marbles for keeps because that would be gambling, you know. So he threw it off, so I was one that was sinning, you know. Because JT would put the marbles in, and boy, I'd win them, boy, I could shoot them marbles. And we'd go, he'd have all them marbles, and Mama would ask JT, did you play marbles? He said, no, ma'am. So he didn't. I did, so he wasn't telling no story. Did she play that good, JT?
Huh?
I could
You
play,
ever
play
marbles that good.
Me and
We both taught her.
me and her both was good.
We went on them, Mama.
If they had turned both of us loose, the rest of them little boys wouldn't have known them all.
No, it wasn't. But after JT could play for fun, and JT would play, and he'd play good. He was
Yeah.
sharp at it. But see, but when he started playing for keeps, see, he'd already promised, and he was good. Well, he promised Mama he wouldn't play for keeps.
Well, he's
But
always
see, I
been
didn't promise
a
Mama I
obedient
wouldn't play for
child.
keeps. I didn't promise Mama I wouldn't play
He's
for
always
keeps.
been
She
obedient.
didn't know you played them.
Mom didn't know I was, so she didn't ask me, cause see, she didn't know I was doing that. So
Well, just
I
the
didn't break no,
boys is
I didn't break no promise, cause I
The
didn't.
boys were supposed to play marbles. That was the boys' game.
But it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was about
Did you
the
play
only
too,
game
Eva
that we
May?
ever could
Even
play.
they